Hi guys, welcome back to Genetics Creations. Today I am going to be starting something a little bit new. We're going to be doing a series all about doing crochet on a budget. So long story short, I found a Facebook ad that had some discounted yarn. It was miscellaneous skeins of yarn, but it was 5 pounds for only $10. Now, yes, you never know what you're gonna get. It could be good, bad, and ugly, something you're used to working with, something you're not, but at the same time, I am a huge advocate of being able to create something for nothing. In fact, this business I literally created with nothing but some budget yarn and some crochet hooks that I had from my grandma. I didn't even buy my own hooks yet. So that being said, when I stumbled across this 5 pound ad of yarn for only $10, I thought, yes, of course, I can save a lot of money, but I can also show others how to do what can be an expensive hobby when skeins of yarn are ranging anywhere from $3 to as high as $15. It can get expensive really fast. So I really wanted to walk you all through some different ways to save money, to move forward and actually try out some new things without having to risk a lot of cash in your bank. So let's talk a little bit about this yarn. Came in a fancy bag, right? Okay, so yes, we're gonna have yarn going everywhere at the moment, but I wanted to walk you guys through a little bit about what this is gonna look like. So when you're doing this, you wanna keep in mind you're gonna be getting yarn of every kind, every color, every texture, and every type of fiber. So when I'm sitting there and I lay everything out that I have, I'm gonna pull out some things. First off, I start with anything that looks like a full skein. So I wanna separate a lot of this stuff. You're gonna get everything. You're gonna get some wool. We've got some discount budget yarns, some of your regular ones that you can get at like Walmart or the ones you get on really good sales. Yes, I'm also gonna get some scragglers of things that maybe I don't know what to do with. I call these your scrap yarn project bucket. You're gonna have some of these thicker textured style yarns. Definitely have a mixture of things going on here. I call these my super texture yarns because they create a lot of texture in a finished product. These are kind of your novelties. They have little glitters in them. I don't know if you can see it from there. I will try to zoom in. But it's got a little bit of everything. Some of these bright, fun colors, even some baby yarns. So I'm gonna be showing you different ways to maybe use baby yarn that doesn't look so baby. This is actually more of a fingering type of yarn. And then some of these weird ones that, let's be real, I don't know how to use it yet, but we're gonna find out together, and I will definitely make sure you guys have some ideas on how to use it before we are done. So we've got a little bit of everything. So now what do? We've kind of mapped out where we're at. We see what different colors and textures we have to work with. Where do we start? What we're gonna do is you're gonna wanna start grouping. I start with the biggest skeins of yarn. Now, one thing to consider is this one is wool. If you see things like wool, 100% cotton, if you start seeing things that stand out like that, keep this yarn separate. Don't mix it with, per se, your rayon blends or your acrylics, because there are a lot of people out there that, one, prefer things that are 100% of X, Y, and Z, but two, when you wash it, and when things experience their life, they're gonna wear and tear differently. Wool has a knack for changing shape and size a lot differently than some of these other blends of yarns. So when you mix it, you make it kind of harder to keep your finished product looking very clean and professional. So keep that in mind, keep your wools separate. So then your novelty yarns and things like that, I'm gonna start setting these aside. As you're grouping, you're gonna have to start thinking, what do I want to make? Now, with a big thing like this, and I'm gonna be trying to see how many things I can make, and I really wanna make these look stellar because I am a reseller, but I also wanna show you guys how to be proud of the projects that you make as well. So as I'm starting, the bigger skeins, this is the only wool I have, so I'm gonna set it aside. Some of these other ones, I'm trying to start with my bigger projects first, and then work my way down to my smaller projects. So we all have some certain yardage that you wanna factor in. You've got a certain yardage, I'm gonna start listing them here, but you've got certain yards that you're gonna wanna throw aside for your scarves. Some other yards you're gonna wanna throw aside for smaller items like your hats or your mittens or your gloves. And then you're gonna have headbands, and then you're gonna have your scrap yarn projects like your bramble baskets, maybe even some keychains and things like that to really maximize what you are creating out of every inch of yarn. I'm a firm believer in trying not to waste any of it, so I am really gonna use every inch of yarn. Now, if you're like me, you might do this often, and you might have some staple colors like your black, whites, and your grays stashed aside. If you are doing that to try to maximize what you get, those 3 colors are good to have on hand because you can mix them with these. So like, for example, I don't have enough teal to go with anything. I am fortunate that I have white. But if this particular bag of yarn didn't have it, I would want other staple colors in my stash, so it helps me take advantage of these deals often. However, for this series, I am not allowed to use any of my stash yarn. So I literally am going to be using only what's in the bag. So I promise if I can do it, you guys can do it. Let me know if you guys have any struggles along the way. Comment below, please, because I'd love to help you through it and help everyone learn how to do these things. So we need to factor in yardage. I am going to start with my bigger projects first. That helps me better plan my yarn and not worry about mid-project, oh God, am I gonna run out? Or am I gonna make it? Might I have to throw in another color last minute when I wasn't planning? So start with your bigger projects first. Everything will have yards on it. Now keep in mind, it looks like a full skein, but I may not always have a full skein. So for this one, yes, it says 465 yards, but I'm gonna wanna assign this to a project that realistically probably only needs about 250 or 300 yards at best, because I do not know how much, unfortunately, has been used already. But there are ways to mathematically calculate it out. You can weigh this, and assuming that what the original weight was relatively accurate, you can then take that mathematical equation and apply it to the current weight that you have, and it should predict the amount of yards you have as well. So if you're a math person, by all means, I will go ahead and throw that equation up there as well to give you an idea. You take your, and I'll work out the equation and you guys can figure it out on your own. That is not, we are not doing that here. So other things I'm gonna do, since I know that's the only wool, now I'm looking for light colors. Because for example, this one, I have 228 yards. That is gonna be similar to this. Okay, I know it's a little 90s, but I'm a 90s kid, well, technically an 80s kid, but most of my picking and choosing was a 90s influence. So that being said, these might go really good together. Or if you want to try to make it a little bit different, and you could do, you're gonna start looking for which items will pair well, because I only have 200 yards of this, 200 yards of this, but I have 400 together, and together that is enough to create a scarf or a super scarf if you are using different patterns, such as your lacier, more open hook finishes. This will also help you make bigger projects using less yarn, and then you can kind of protect and stretch that yardage a little bit further. So long story short, we're gonna be mixing and matching. We're gonna be recommending patterns. I'm gonna be throwing tutorials and walking you all through this journey so we can do it together and you are not alone. But we're gonna see how many items we can make with this 5-pound bag of yarn, and only $10 is what we paid to do it. So let's see what we can turn this magicalness into. Guys, stay along with the journey. Please subscribe, stay tuned, because it's gonna be the inspiration behind a lot of different tutorials. And I'd love you guys, if you have any tips or tricks or other things you have done to personally stretch that yarn yardage and make more projects with less, please comment below. I am all about learning more things, and I would love to hear different ideas. I only know what I know, and I would love to know what you know. So again, subscribe, stay tuned. I have so much more coming. Join me in this journey. Let me know how your own is going, and I will see you in the next video. Talk to you soon. Keep stitching.